All right, welcome back. We are almost ready for this first of five. We've had slight delays. This is, of course, due to the schedule being extremely grueling and us coming out of the match slate. So we gave the teams a little bit extra time to prepare just so they could actually swap ships, do bans, and all that stuff. So we're starting a little bit late. We'll be starting in about 10 minutes. We do still have two of our commentators here and CCP Navigator, of course.
That guy.
I almost called you CCP Guard.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, CCP Guard, Navigator.
We could be very confused.
Yes. So we were talking about player events, and we do have some more coming up, actually. We haven't announced yet, right?
We do. We have one that's been organised by Two Step, a member of the CSM. That's in Boston. It's going to be on April the 10th in Mead Hall, if I recall correctly, in Cambridge. Then we have one in Newcastle in England, also on August the 10th if you can't get to Boston, but you can get to Newcastle. And that's going to be at the Mile Gate, I think. Or the name is on the forums anyhow. We've actually just had a lot of new developers move to Newcastle, so I'm going to poke a couple of those guys and see if they can go along, and maybe they can post in the forums and say if they're going to attend.
And that's at the Mile Castle.
The Mile Castle.
The Mile Castle,
That's pretty close.
That's very close. Close enough. All right, well, so if you want to go see some of our developers, there's two great chances there. Otherwise, Eve Down Under, FanFest, Eve Serbia,
Gamescom.
So you can basically just go anywhere.
Yeah,
You probably just open your front door and there'll be a developer standing there going, do you want to go to the pub?
Yeah, why not? We do want to go to the pub.
Yeah,
Okay.
the answer is yes.
All right, well, let's talk a little bit about the upcoming match. We're slowly easing into it now, and it is Hydra Reloaded, best of 5 versus Pandemic Legion. We have the bans. So Hydra have banned the Oneros and the Loki.
Loki? Huh.
It's an odd ban.
Forcing him into it. I mean, I've seen the Loki fielded as a logistics in a Shield Tinker, I think, once this tournament, but the Tengu seems like the... did perhaps Tengu get banned on the other side?
No. Pandemic Legion banned the Cambion and the Dominics.
A sensible ban going up against Hydra.
Yeah. We've seen those Cambions. But on the other hand, Hydra had another really strong setup with tournament ships, which was the
Malices.
Right.
And Malices, of course, are insane cap ships. They've got really strong tanks. They just immediately annihilate the cap of almost everything less than a battleship. Battlecruiser hulls can't really handle it that well.
The Cambions will absolutely shred support ships.
Yeah.
They are, I mean, just incredibly high DPS, very, very tanky frigates, I think on the order of 40, 50,000 EHP, maybe a little less, depending how you fit it. But like, the damage output of those things is insane. So maybe, PL were afraid of losing all their frigates at one go like that.
Exactly.
And that's what
and the Malices are the exact opposite almost, in that Hydra's Malices typically fit no guns. No guns on them at all. They're only nuding.
So is this PL trying to protect some support fleet, some interesting thing going on there? Or?
I think they just don't want to fight 4-point Drakes.
Yeah.
Which is essentially what the Cambion is. It's incredibly strong.
I'm just still wrapping my head around the Loki ban. I mean, to me, Tengu makes sense. Loki, it seems to be the weaker counterpart of the Tengu in a Shield Tinker setup. And we haven't really seen it applied in any other forms. I can only think of 1 or 2 matches when we saw it fielded, and it was as a logistics ship. But again, it was kind of when a Tengu was banned out, then we saw the Loki.
Maybe they're thinking they can bump out a Tengu and the Loki's agility. They think they can't bump a Loki, and I don't know.
But
that's some pretty deep meta.
You don't bump the Logi to Tinker, though. You bump out the command ship or one of the battleships, right? So, I don't know. We'll see, I guess, when the ships get on the field. But
Maybe they banned it to Loki because they're not really concerned at what PL are bringing.
Ooh.
And they're just throwing out a Loki ban just to say, well, we're not really that concerned.
Maybe it's just it's next level stuff that we can never understand.
It's the new meta.
I think someone was asking why Hydra wasn't practicing that much during this week, and they said they had their next practice at Saturday at 1500, which is I think when their PL series started. So
that's exactly right.
Maybe a little bit of cockiness there, but that's all right.
We've seen Hydra won the first series, and the last time they met in SCL was the final there, and Hydra won that one fairly convincingly as well.
Yeah.
And in fact, with something we might have talked about at one point, to beat a Tinker, it was a really impressive strategy from Hydra. They brought stealth bombers, something we've seen once or twice in the tournament. They brought void bombs, held back for about the first minute or so until they got pressure applied on the cap chain of the Tinker setup they were facing, dropped the void bombs, and literally the second the void bombs went off, the Tengu vanished off the field because it just got alpha through its HP, and they cleaned up the match convincingly. So this could be some exciting tactics we see coming up in these matches.
And that's a difficult setup to use right, because we saw another alliance use it in this tournament.
And fail to deploy the bombs correctly.
Yep.
Yeah.
The first thing they did was just shoot those bombs away.
Yep.
And you can't do that. It has to be like, it's something you have to apply at the right time. And they just didn't. They just like, we have bombs, shoot them, we'll win. That's how the strategy works.
Which kind of works if they're damage bombs and the enemy
Yes.
just happens to be at the right place. But void bombs are like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
to use them at the right time.
So I have a question to both the commentators. Do you think you're going to see anything brand new in the first match of this?
I
best
would
of
be
four?
surprised if we don't see it in the best of 4, but I don't know if it's going to be the first match. They may kind of come out with conservative setups and feel each other out. If either team's going to do it, I think PL will, because PL's down 1-0 going into this, and
Yeah.
they don't want to fall behind 2-0
Yeah.
and then have their backs to the wall. So if they have another ace in the hole to pull out, they're going to do it in this match. Hydra may come in with a more standard setup that they just want to go out there and see what can PL do.
yeah. Hydra is on balance right now, and PL needs to knock them off their balance with some sort of really strong, unexpected setup that maybe sends Hydra reeling. I just don't know if Pandemic Legion has a sort of setup that will send Hydra reeling.
Do you know what would surprise the hell out of everyone?
What?
Tenetanas. That would surprise everyone.
In the rules.
So
The rules don't
surprised.
apply to
But
Hydra.
you
and
can,
PL.
but the Itanas, even if you couldn't. Well, for sure, fall 3, but you can't bring more than 1 logistics, can you?
No,
No.
so
So-
not at all. It's very unlikely.
And can I just ask?
Yeah.
Didn't Hydra and PL meet up in the final of the FanFest tournament?
Yes.
Wasn't that a Hydra PL?
Yes, I
final
was.
as well?
It was
Yeah.
3
At least
Hydra,
Randolph
3
was.
Hydra, and 2 of us from Rote Capel. But yeah,
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
PL on the other side. So and the Hydra, our team won that one too. So
Yes, but that team at the FanFest tournament also had Elise Randolph, key weakness of all Pandemic Legion teams.
Poor Elise Randolph.
But he is a
He's
chill
such
bro.
a lovely
Yeah.
guy.
He is.
absolutely one of the most lovely players you'll meet. Ousted as the PL team captain. But, what a
You can't just beat the proven track record of Seamus Orzaz.
That's true. That is true. Well, you know, he has a chance to show now that he's back on track. But yeah,
Some people say that Seamus is actually a sentient AI that awakens only for the Alliance
yes,
tournament.
yes.
And he was just on repair for the last 2 years, and that's why Pandemic Legion lost.
It's like Demolition Man, where Wesley Snipes is frozen. It's like every year at the tournament, they go down to the basement and drag him out and thaw him.
Isn't Wesley Snipes the bad guy in Demolition Man, though?
Yeah, he's also thought up like.
Oh, no,
Aren't-
okay.
Pandemic
yeah.
Legion, the bad guys.
Who is-
It's with,
who is who?
Cold black cards.
So the good.
Who is Sylvester Stallone?
I don't know.
Way to spoil the movie for me, bro.
It's one of those movies I loved growing up, but when you rewatch it like now
Yeah,
when
yeah.
you're
Doesn't
30, you're
stand the
like,
test
what
of
the
time.
Christ is that?
I actually know how to use the 3 seashells.
Do you?
Yes.
No, you don't.
Yeah, yes, I do.
Is that movie 20 years old now, or is it not that old? It seems like it's about 20 years old.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Sounds about right.
I was very young when I saw it. Great movie at the time. Now, not so much. All right. Well, anyway, I'm quite excited about this this match we have coming up. PL having a bit of a tougher bout with Exodus than Hydra did, certainly. Why? Because Exodus didn't look good against Hydra, and then they suddenly looked good against PL.
I think 2 things to think about on that. Having heard a little bit from one of the Exodus pilots last night that used to be in Stimulus, he came on to Rote Capel Team Speak and was chatting with Brent, and I caught part of that conversation. I think Exodus were extremely intimidated by Hydra. They went into that series expecting to lose. And that's never a good mindset, even if you have strong setups, good execution. You go in thinking you're going to lose, chances are you will.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I overheard discussed was a rumor, and I don't know how much base there was to it, but that Hydra wanted Exodus to win that series, and as a result, was going to get on comms with them as soon as it was determined that it was going to be PL against Exodus, and give Exodus some comps to try to beat Pandemic Legion, and that may have been where some of that came from.
And we heard exactly that as well, that the second Exodus knew they were fighting PL, Hydra was feeding them setups, essentially. to
And
bring-
it's not to say they used them. I know,
Yeah.
in rumors before in the SF First Bob, somebody said on the stream then that we got that setup from someone else. It wasn't the case. So don't want to take anything away from Exodus if it was not the case. However, Hydra, I think, was really willing to give them intel, information at the very least, and that may have played a part in their theory crafting. So
Come on, what genius could come up with 10 thoraxes? It's so next level.
But I mean, to be fair, so Exodus have pretty much been running the Dommy setup the entire tournament.
Yep.
They tried to run it with poor replacements against Hydra, got beat. Tried to run it again with poor replacements, got beat. All of a sudden, pull out 2 new setups that they haven't shown before, where they've basically been running the same. I mean, there might be some truth to it. They certainly improved their setups like very rapidly. You never know. You never know.
But the thing is, if you're Exodus, you have to think, surely Hydra isn't feeding you their best setups.
No.
They're feeding the setups they think like, oh, silly children who can't beat us. Take these setups that you will be able to fly.
Yeah.
I mean, as we talked about, it was a well-rounded setup. It was a very strong
Yeah.
setup, but it wasn't a world beater setup.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. Hydra gives them a very solid comp. You're good pilots. Go out and do this. You might win it with it. To gamble, Hydra's can afford to take probably a setup they're not planning on using in the finals, so they can throw it away.
Yeah.
And this final that we are about to see now has some amazing prizes designed by CCP Fossey that you'll get here on screen. This is our Kovops frigate. It is super awesome. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful ship, and
My money, the best looking frigate in the game.
yeah, I think so as well.
Without doubt.
And there will only be 50 of these. And then we have this one, the Maracha, which of course has a unique hull. We'll
Yep.
be using it for other ships in the future, I'm sure, but for now this will be the only model that looks like this, and it is absolutely stunning and not just good ships, good looking ships.
I have a friend of mine in Royal Capel who tinkers with the EFT files, e-fitting tool. Some of you who aren't familiar with it, it's a player-made little app that you can test fits out offline and kind of get an idea what a ship can do. He was playing with that thing the other day and pasting me stats into Skype, and it's just a really scary looking cruiser, something that you want to go out and catch a radar in a Plex or something and decloak on him, and it's just an amazing amount of damage, quite a good buffer, very fast, very scary little ship. It looks like a lot of fun to fly.
Yeah, from after this tournament, if you see someone in local and you can't see their ship, they could be in one of these right next to you.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, they probably are.
I'm probably in it right now.
Yeah.
All right, guys, the match is ready. I've heard that there's a Drestius on the field, at least one.
That's going to be PL. I'm calling it.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah. Anyway, let's get some predictions here. Who's going to win? Puck.
I don't like the Adrestias for tournament. I do like them on TQ, but I don't think they're a great tournament ship. And if it's PL fielding it, I think Hydra are going to take the match.
I think PL is going to take the match and then lose all the Adrestias, but they'll win.
I think PL will win the match, Tad at 1-1, and take us into a good best of 3.
I have suddenly changed my mind. I think PL might win. Just, I don't know.
I've never
I
got a
think they
prediction
might-
wrong.
I think they might win. And Navigator's never ever gotten a prediction wrong in anything.
Got one right.
All right, I think PL might win, but let's go see.